Welcome back to The Legend of Zelda: The Complete Story. If you missed last time, we discussed how the world, the Triforce, and our repeating protagonists were created. But don't you want to hear that whole story for yourself? Come on, we spend a lot of time on these videos. Go watch it, give it a like, leave it a comment. We'll all have cookies. It's a pizza party. Alright, it's time for our starter disclaimer. You're probably wondering, oh my god, the Zeldas are connected! Yep, for the 25th anniversary, Nintendo released a history book of Hyrule linking together all the timelines. At Orcarina of Time is when things start getting sloppy though, as it breaks off into 3 different directions. If you want to see how everything started, then go check out episode 1 where we discuss the beginning of the entire world of Hyrule. But if you just want to keep moving forward, then we're about to go into the period in which Link was broken into 4 pieces and a musical instrument allowed you to time travel. Also remember, since each game is massively deep with Easter eggs, little plot points, and subplots, we won't be able to explain everything. So make sure you bring up your favorite parts of each game in the comments down below. I do want to state one last disclaimer though, just keep in mind that we're going to pronounce these things as best as we can, but most of the Zelda games weren't voiced over, so they kind of just gave you the text and you had to figure it out yourself. So if you think we got it wrong, just go ahead and tell us down below how it's supposed to be pronounced, and we'll do it better next time. The world that was created by the goddesses and protected by Hylia was eventually called Hyrule. And the descendants of Hylia became known as the magic-wielding Hylians. As time moves forward, so does our legend of power that had to do with the Triforce. The Sage of Light constructed the Temple of Time, which contained the only entrance to the Sacred Realm, the current home of the Triforce. The Sage of Light sealed the Master Sword behind the Door of Time, and the only way to open the Door of Time is through the spiritual stones of the Forest, Fire, and Water. With the Triforce locked in the Temple of Time, which is behind the Door of Time, which requires the spiritual stones to unlock, which is guarded by the respected peoples, the Sage of Light became known as the guardian of the power of the gods. The royal family, Hylia's descendants, had their castle built in the center of Hyrule, alongside the location of the Temple of Time. It was their job to ensure that everything stayed sealed. And out of honor of the goddesses, all the princesses within the lineage were to be named Zelda. Everything was quiet since the first epic battle against the Demon King, until the world was magically shrouded in darkness and the demons emerged again. At this time though, a tiny Picori descended with the Picori blade and trapped all the monsters in the bound chest, using the sword and the light force, and brought peace to the land. Thankful for his help, the royal family agreed to guard the Picori blade and keep the land of the Picori a secret. As gratitude, they held a yearly Picori festival. Legend has it that once every 100 years, a secret door would open and the Picori could return to the human world once again. And with that history out of the way, it's time to move forward and strap in for another epic adventure of miniature proportions, the Minish Cap. 100 festivals set 100 years apart happened since the Picori saved the day, so 1,000 years have officially passed. We have a new Princess Zelda in the royal family, and they decide to host the Picori Festival for the year. At this festival, an unknown swordsman is the victor of the fighting tournament, and his name is Vati. But he didn't do this to enjoy the festivities like everyone else. He thought that the light force power that the Picori used to seal the demons 1,000 years ago was located in the bound chest. So he takes the Picori blade and then breaks it, and using the broken blade he opens the chest to discover not the light force power, but the demons that had been bound in the chest themselves. The demons poured out of the chest and inhabited the world once again. Frustrated, Vati turned Princess Zelda into stone and heads off to find the light force. To free Zelda and reseal all the evil, a hero must use the Picori blade, but the blade is broken, and the only people who are able to fix the broken blade are the Minish tribe. So the kingdom chose a hero to save the day, and that hero was Link. Oh, and the hat with a face on it, that would be Ezlo. He's Vati's master until he gave Vati the power he has now. He feels bad for doing this and turning Vati into an evil guy, so he's joining Link for this adventure. The Minish tribe was a truly tiny though, so Link needed to be shrunk down, and then the tiny Picoris explained to Link that he would need to get together the 4 elements hidden around the world and place them on the pedestal to restore the blade. So a few dungeons later, Link has all the elements and is about to place them on the pedestal. It is here that he learned that the power of the light force was actually within Zelda this whole time. But unbeknownst to Link, Vati has been following him this whole time to learn where the power was actually hidden. Vati siphons the power out of Zelda and becomes the demon known as Vati's Wrath. Their battle was so epic, it brought the castle down all around them. But with the last of the light force power within her, Zelda wishes for the entirety of Hyrule to be restored to its former glory. And with that, Hyrule is restored and the door to the Minish tribe begins to shut. As a final farewell, Ezlo gives Link a green cap and leaves our hero. Hyrule enters into a time period of peace once again, and everyone is happy for now. Until Vati magically appears in the land again, bringing us to the Four Swords adventure. Vati remembers nothing of his past and occupies the Palace of the Winds. He then begins to kidnap all the women in the land one by one, until stopped by the hero of the Four Swords. Vati found himself sealed within the Four Swords sword, and the sword was sealed within the elemental sanctuary until the time would come that it was needed again. It is at this time that the plot for the original Four Swords adventure takes place, folks. Once again, generations within the land of Hyrule passed by. With each generation, Zelda and her descendants watched over the Four Sword until one day the seal was broken. Vati kidnapped the current generation Zelda and fled back to the Palace of the Winds. From a distance, a young hero named Link. That name Link again? The name Link is widely used in Hyrule storylines for heroes. Just think about it, if there was a legend of a hero named Link, and you wanted to give your child a nice and strong name, wouldn't you just use Link? Besides, Nintendo just kept using Link and there wasn't any cohesive timeline for a while. Once again, our legendary hero Link steps forward to save the day. Wait. 4 legendary heroes step forward to save the day. You see, the secret of the Four Swords' power is the fact that it will make 4 of you. Our heroes, Link Red, Link Green, Link Purple, and Link Blue, set off to prove their worth to the 3 great fairies and earn the keys to the Palace of the Winds. With the combined power of the 4 Links, Vati was once again sealed in the sword. Sensing that it was no longer needed, the 4 Links returned to the Four Sword to its rightful place, which merged Link into one person again. Thanking Link, Zelda and her people went back to protecting the seal on the Four Sword. Well, now we know where the world started, what the Triforce is, and what the purpose of Zelda, Link, and Ganon are. Heck, we even have an idea of where the legendary green hat that the hero wears most of the time likely started from. Some people like to believe that Ezlo giving Link the hat put it down in history. I like to think that just because the very first hero in Skyward Sword wore the hat, that every Link following that wears the same outfit. What's your ideas? Do you think he got it from Ezlo, or do you think he's just wearing it because it's always been worn? But now I bet you're thinking, well, this is fun, but what happened at Orcarina of Time that messes up the timeline? The short answer, lots of time travel. The long answer, let's get started with Orcarina of Time then. Once again, an unknown amount of time passed over the land. It's safe to assume that all those stories just fell into legend again. The land of Hyrule was engulfed in war for eons. One day in all the confusion, a lone woman fled to a forbidden forest, child in hand. She made it to the spirit of the Kokiri forest, the great Deku tree. Sensing the child had a mighty destiny, the great Deku tree took the child in hand and raised him by the Kokiri people. A short time after this, the king of Hyrule finally unified the kingdom once again, and peace fell over the land. During this time of peace, Ganondorf, the leader of the Gerudo, pledged his fealty to the king of Hyrule. What seemed like a peaceful treaty was actually Ganondorf's way to begin his search for the Triforce, though. And with that, Ganondorf began searching the entire kingdom of Hyrule for the Triforce, from the mountain kingdom of the Goron to the lake kingdom of the Zora. Years passed, and his search found nothing. That was until this generation's Zelda had a vision. She saw Ganondorf's true purpose was to find the Triforce and to get into the Sacred Realm. And she also knew that if he accomplished this, that he would most likely destroy the world. Let's take a moment to remind you of a history fact from the last episode. Currently, the only way to get into the Sacred Realm is through the Temple of Time, which requires the Master Sword to unlock. The Master Sword is behind the Door of Time, and the Door of Time requires 3 spiritual stones to unlock: Forest, Fire, and Water. Well, as it would happen, our young boy named Link, in the care of the Deku Tree, happened to have a spiritual stone of the forest. One of his earliest adventures was to get the spiritual stone of the forest. After a series of events, Link and Zelda finally meet, and it is then that she realizes that the best way to stop Ganondorf is to get into the Sacred Realm before him. With this, Link begins his journey to secure the last 2 spiritual stones. But, as Link was returning to the castle with everything, he saw Ganon fleeing. While Link was busy running errands for Zelda, Ganon started a rebellion, and at the end of it, Zelda fled with her guardian Impa. As she was being carried off though, she managed to throw Link one of the family heirlooms, the Orcarina of Time. Seriously guys, the entire game is based around this one magical item. Anyway, Link finds the Orcarina, he then plays the instrument, opens the door, puts in the stones, and he reaches forward and takes the Master Sword! And then he defeats Ganon and saves the kingdom! If only that's how it actually happened. The timeline wouldn't be so jacked up. Here's what really happened. Link plays the Orcarina and opens the door. He places the spiritual stones inside, which unlocks the Master Sword. He goes in to take the Master Sword, and since he's collected all the spiritual stones, the Master Sword deems him worthy to draw it. But the sword and the spirits have deemed Link too young. The Master Sword locks Link in time until he's old enough to wield the sword properly. The problem is, everyone else was free to roam while Link was stuck. This includes Ganondorf, who followed Link and now has access to the Sacred Realm. Alright, so to break down so you understand exactly what happened there, Link unlocked the door, he grabbed the Master Sword and was then frozen in time. But the Sacred Realm was unlocked by him unlocking the door. And with Link frozen in time, Ganondorf just walked right in. Link was locked away for 7 years and woke a grown man, able to lift and wield the Master Sword without a problem. But now Ganondorf has been in control for 7 years with access to the Sacred Realm. The Sacred Realm mirrors what's in someone's heart, and with Link locked away and Ganondorf having access to it, a nightmarish world where Ganon became the Demon King, and the remaining citizens went into hiding, was born. Link awakens, and Zelda sends him on an adventure of grand scales. The only thing that Link can do to fix everything that has happened is to seal Ganon within the Sacred Realm forever. But in order to do that, he will need to find all the sages and bring them together for a final spell. Link completes his epic adventure and discovers that Zelda was actually the 7th sage. Well, Ganondorf has been following Link on his journey again, and found out the same thing, that Zelda was the key to sealing him away forever. To keep himself from being locked away, he kidnaps Zelda. Remember this moment, we're gonna come back to here in a minute. In a last-ditch effort, Ganondorf uses the last of his power, and he transforms officially into the evil Demon King Ganon. Following a crazy, amazing battle, Princess Zelda traps Ganon so that Link can deliver the final blow. Using this moment, all of the sages seal the Demon King away forever, where he remains until his anger becomes too great to be contained any longer. Our tale is now complete, and everyone can go home. But here is the second breaking point in our timeline. Zelda feels terrible for allowing Ganondorf to enter the Sacred Realm, and for Link losing 7 years of his life. To make up for it, she uses the Orcarina to one last time to send Link back 7 years again, where he is a child. So how does this break the timeline, you ask? Well, we have 3 possibilities from this point forward. The first timeline that we're going to be going over is, what if Link failed? You see, at the first moment when I said remember this moment, we'll come back to it in a minute, just before Ganondorf transforms into the evil Demon King Ganon, one of the possibilities is that Link failed right there. The second will be what happened when Link went back 7 years and became a child again, because his adventures don't end there. And the third is what happened in the future, since they sent away their one and only major hero. Yep, Nintendo made this into 3 different directions. So let's give you a quick recap on the history, so up until this point, you're at least not completely confused. because we're about to break off into whole kinds of crazy things. At the beginning of time, we had 3 goddesses who made the Triforce and left it in the hands of the goddess Hylia. After sealing the Demon King, the goddess Hylia passed on to be reincarnated as Zelda, so that as a human, she could properly use the power of the Triforce for good. A time passed and a follower of the Demon King attempted to find the reborn Hylia, now known as Zelda. After kidnapping her, a hero stepped forward, claiming the goddess sword and saving the day. Upon defeat, the Demon King was sealed within the Master Sword and the land was cursed to fight him for generations. With that, Zelda's descendants became the royal family and a time of peace ensued. Vati was introduced as an evil mage trying to find the power of light. In the end, he was defeated by that era's Link and became known as the demon Vati's Wrath. The Force Sword was then used to reseal Vati's Wrath, and the Force Sword was locked away to be protected by Zelda's descendants. War ensued in Hyrule until the current king of Hyrule was able to put an end to it. The leader of the Garuda tribe, Ganon, fakes a peace treaty with Hyrule to find the Triforce. A young Princess Zelda decides it's up to her to keep Ganon from the Sacred Realm and sends Link in to unlock the doors before Ganon can. This seals Link away for 7 years, and Ganon has free reign over the Sacred Realm, turning it into a nightmare world. The timeline is split into 3 from this point on. Failed timeline in which Link loses, child timeline in which Link succeeds and goes back to his childhood to have more adventures, and adult timeline in which Link saved the day, but there was a time in which they need to rebuild with the hero gone from their world. Well, thank you for joining us for this rather large episode, and this is where things are going to get confusing for The Legend of Zelda. So for the next episode, we're going to be covering what happened if Link failed completely. Don't forget to watch our videos of the complete timeline of Metal Gear Solid. It's a rather confusing story, and it's the game that started this entire complete story series. We're also already writing up the script for our next games, Dark Souls, Kingdom Hearts, and the Final Fantasies. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter, as we do release these videos early to our Twitter followers sometimes, like our Facebook and subscribe to our channel for constant updates on these videos.